Welcome to There Is a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell. I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I'm the owner of Maxwell's Fitness Programs, and I've been in business since 1994. All right, let's jump into some fitness topics. As promised earlier in the week, I had 3 questions asked over the internet, and I said I was going to cover them this week, and I already did. The first one, which I thought was a great question about coming up on the holidays, should a person just go ahead and eat whatever they want during that day and get back to it, or should they try to eat healthy? I covered that one. And the next question came from the same person, actually wanted to know my fitness routine because I talked about my diet, and that is going to be the topic I cover today. And then the third one was regarding exercise timing and eating. All right. Before I jump into the topic today, though, I want to thank our very first sponsor, Jonathan and Lyn Gildon at the Gildon Group at Realty Pros. They currently have over 275 star reviews, and let me tell you, they are absolute hustlers and absolute professionals. And we need that. We need that in the real estate market, I think. I think you want people that are doing it for a living, serious about it, and I've had experiences where that's not the case, and you want somebody that really knows what they're doing. I vouch for them. They can be reached at 386-451-2412 or thegildongroup.com, and their information will be in the show notes. All right, so once I was speaking with my students back when I was teaching sports medicine, and I told them it is absolutely imperative that you have all of the knowledge, skills, and abilities for your field as a personal trainer. But you also have to be able to speak from experience, or you're not going to be very relatable to your client. So that's the case with this question right here. And it is absolutely imperative as trainers that we walk the walk and don't just talk the talk. So when this question came up, said, I really enjoyed listening to what you eat, because a lot of times, people always tell us what to do, and it says a lot more if you show us what to do, right? And I think that's absolutely true. There's a similar saying that says, well, it's really not one of your principles unless it costs you money, right? Like all the time we're talking about how principled we are, and then it says, okay, so you carry that principle out, but it's going to cost you $100,000. It's like, oh, maybe I didn't really think so strongly about that. So there's a lot of truth behind that, and there's a lot of truth behind it in the exercise world too. I mean, we can give all different kinds of information and advice out there, but if we're not living it, then it's not going to come across as genuine. So I do like these questions. So let me try to shoot through the week a little bit. First off, let me say that my goals are to be as strong as I can, to be as lean as I can in a healthy way. When I say that, I don't mean like super skinny lean. I mean just have a good percentage of body fat with muscle and lower percentage of fat. I think that's a good goal for everybody. With that, I like to be cardiovascularly fit as well. So those are my main goals. So I like a nice balance of fitness. And when I was young, my teens, then early 20s, it was all about lifting, getting stronger, getting bigger, bodybuilding, stuff like that. Didn't do much cardio. Matter of fact, the only cardio I did outside of fooling around, playing around, here and there, playing different sports, tennis, backyard basketball, all that kind of stuff. Outside of that, I really didn't do any until I was training for my first show, and then I did very low intensity cardio to try to burn body fat. And during that time period, I realized, man, I really like this. I liked getting on the life cycle, sweating, getting my heart rate up a little bit. And, I just like the kind of the therapeutic effects, and it does work. So I like the benefits as well. That was my introduction to cardio. Before that, I really didn't do any. And then when I got into my master's program in exercise physiology, I was one of 2 literally in the whole program that was really into bodybuilding, weight training. Most of them were more into just cardio, and especially triathlon and running. So, I started doing what they do. I kind of wanted a little bit of a break from the competitive bodybuilding and that circle. So it sounded fun and interesting and new. So I started doing that, and then I jumped in with both feet and got really into that for the next decade or so. And now I'd say it's a nice combination of both. I do like to lift for sure, and I like to do my cardio for sure. So it's a little bit of a combination, which I always tell people, cardio and strength training are the king and queen. You really have to do both if you want to be in the best fitness you can be in, body composition wise, heart wise, psychological health wise. It comes down to they are king and queen, and which way you rank them really doesn't matter as long as you do both, right? Can't have a good royal family without both. So need that king and queen. So that's kind of the overview of what I do. So let me talk a little bit about it. Now, Gina asked, do I split up my weights? Do I do full bodies? What do I do? So I do both. I go through different periods where I do both. And it's important to know that both types of training are great. There really is no one better than the other. That was a huge debate, probably still is, among immature circles of inexperienced trainers where, everybody has their absolute way it works. And that's just not true. I mean, the NSCA, National Strength Conditioning Association, is pretty much the Bible. They wrote the Bible, I should say, on strength training, and research supports them both. It really comes down to time. It comes down to desire. It comes down to what you have access to. For example, if you don't really have a lot of weights and you use your body weight for strength training, it doesn't really behoove you to do a split routine because, how many exercises can you do for each muscle group with your body, right? So there's a lot of factors involved. So they all work. Don't let anybody telling you have to do full bodies, high intensity, or you have to do split routines. It really comes down to what you like, what you have time for, and what you have a budget for. For example, if you're doing personal training, and you're like Madonna, who hires and has a personal trainer, and a lot of the super wealthy of course do, and a lot of normal people do, but the difference is Madonna can afford to pay her trainer 2 hours, whatever, every day. They can do a split routine. If you're going to a trainer and most likely, my experience, you can afford 2 to 3 days a week, and then it's like, well, it's hard to do a split routine that way. It can be done, but it's more challenging. So there's a lot of factors involved, but the bottom line is it doesn't matter. Both can be great as long as you program it right. And that hopefully you're coming here, it's programmed right. I mean, I can guarantee that. You go into a good trainer, it probably is too. So as long as it's programmed right. All right, so that's my preface to that. Mondays, typically over the last month or so, I do chest and triceps for strength, and I tend to keep the reps mostly in the 6 and 12 range, doing like a pyramid. And for those that don't know, a pyramid means going down in reps and up in weight as I go. So let's say the rep range might be 12, 10, 8, 6, something like that. Some days I'll go a little bit heavier and go down and go 4 to 2, but my form is never like off. It's not like herky-jerky weight. If I get super heavy, meaning using like 2 to 4 reps, that's really heavy load, or it's supposed to be. It's still not super heavy load, meaning I don't do like the only 2 I could do. I might do 2 reps of something I could do 4 times, something like that. So I still go heavier without compromising my form, because I always tell my clients here and my trainers, train, don't strain. So when you see somebody like straining to finish a rep, it's time to stop. You don't want to strain. You want to be able to continue to move the load. So, hear that grunting. So there's some strain. No, he just likes to grunt. So anyway, Mondays, chest and triceps, as I said. I typically do like around 12 total sets for chest and maybe like 8 or so for triceps. And the workout lasts 30 minutes. My workouts are fast. I don't take a lot of breaks. I like to move There's not now. In the old days, before I knew better, when I was growing up, I'd go to the gym and hang out on a chest day. I might be there 2 hours, but I didn't do more work. I remember, I'm saying it like I'm just speaking to somebody like on this, street who I spoke to the other day. A couple months ago, I did a podcast on what work is. So like work means like what you got done, not time. So that's the case when I'm talking about this, meaning that even though I was at the gym maybe 2 hours when I was in my 20s, I really wasn't doing any more work. So I like to keep it moving. I don't like to break more than a minute, and I like to get to different exercises and do different supersets to keep it moving. So it takes about 30 minutes. Monday, cardio-wise, I'm usually coming off the weekend of something longer. So it's typically 35 or 40 minutes on a life cycle at a really easy intensity. So that's it on Monday. Light intensity, 30, 35, 40 minutes on a life cycle, chest and triceps. Tuesday is normally a harder run. I like to do some kind of intervals either on the treadmill or outside. Most of my runs, I should state, are always in the 30 to 40 minute range. Occasionally I'll go a little longer on the weekend, but typically 30 to 40 minutes. And I do some warming up with some walking in there too. I like to vary the paces quite a bit. But Tuesday is typically a harder run where I'll do some intervals and maybe cover 3 to 4 miles. And then it is back and shoulder day at the gym. Back and shoulder. So back and shoulders are great to do together because you can do perfect supersets, right? Superset as in agonist versus antagonist. So in other words, a pull down, which is for the lats, is a perfect superset to a shoulder press for the shoulders. So it's an agonist antagonist. So it's like perfect for supersetting. So I do shoulders and back together, again, typically like 3 to 4 exercises each for each muscle group, and around 12 sets for back, maybe 12 sets or less for shoulders. And that wraps up my Tuesday. On Wednesday, because I did a harder workout on Wednesday, because I did a harder workout on Tuesday, regarding the run, my cardio-wise will be typically an easy spin, again on the life cycle, like 45 minutes easy. And sometimes it might be outside on the outdoor bike. If the weather's nice, I'll go out. But the key here, Gina and everybody else, is because Tuesday was a harder day of cardio, I want to make it an easier day on Wednesday, so the intensity isn't going to be high and the duration isn't going to be too long. So even if it's outside, it's going to be under an hour. If it's inside, it's going to be 35 to 40 minute range, really easy, level 1, level 2. If it's outside, low intensity for me. And then I do legs, and lower body is very, very important to, I just think I love working lower body. It's very, very important for hip strength, knee strength, ankle strength, and metabolically, it's just so critical. So I'll do legs and biceps strength-wise. And again, I like to do pyramids. So I like to squat, but I like to do it on the Smith machine, and I don't go overly heavy with that. I don't see the point in doing lower reps at all on there. I use really good form. I love the leg extension and the leg curl. I like to do abduction for the hips, and I like to do either seated or standing calves, and I typically rotate it depending on the day of the week, which I'll get into. And then I hit biceps, and I like to do a superset, or I should actually call it more of a giant set, because when you're combining the same muscle groups together, for example, 2 bicep exercises back to back, that's not really as much of a superset as more of a mini giant set. So I like to do that because so the biceps are really, really like accessory exercise. They're, mostly show, literally. And so we don't have to go too heavy with them, and they get worked in other areas. So I like to do about 8 sets, and I'll do total 8 sets. So I'll do, like, for example, a dumbbell curl right into a easy bar curl. And I'll go like 12 and then 12 and then rest and then do it again. So legs and biceps for strength, easy cardio on the life cycle. Thursday, kind of repeat how I started Monday. So it's back to chest and triceps. Almost the same thing. I mean, literally almost the same thing. I do between 3 and 4 exercises for both. I mean, typically 3, so 6 total exercises. So 3 chest and 3 on the tricep. Sometimes 4 chest, 2 tricep. If I went heavier on Monday, I'll go lighter on Thursday. But again, I don't go insane. I keep the reps pretty common between 6 and 12. But Thursday's a little different cardio-wise because I do a harder run again. Not quite the interval pace, but maybe a tempo pace, but harder than easier. And again, it is in the 3 to 4 mile, 30 to 40 minute range. Can be on the treadmill, can be outside. A lot of it depends on how dark it is, really. I really hate running in the dark. It's weird for me. I do not like it. So if it's still pretty dark, I'll go on the treadmill. Weekends, I love to get outside because I don't have to be done as early before work type of thing. And yes, I told you I did chest and triceps. All right, Friday rolls around. Now Friday, again, because I went harder on Thursday, it would be a bike again, but an easier bike. And just like Wednesday, it could be 30 to 40 minutes easy on a life cycle because I have one at my house, or at my recumbent bike at the gym, or again, it could be outside. But the key is it is low intensity. When the weather's nice, I love to do a Friday afternoon bike down at the trail because I have more time. I keep the intensity down. I spin. Spinning means you're turning kind of a high RPM without a lot of resistance. That's what spinning is, and I do that. And then weight-wise, I repeat what I did on Tuesday, and I do back and shoulders. And again, I try to superset them. I might switch the exercises up a little bit. So in other words, instead of a pull down that I might do on Tuesday, on Friday I might do pull up. But I always try to keep it consistent as far as the amount of exercises and hitting all of the angles. Saturday can either be a harder run or a harder bike, and a lot of it depends on if there's a local 5K. I love to do the local 5Ks. I really enjoy it. I like to get out there and push myself and see other people push themselves, whatever that is. So if there's a local 5K, I will typically do that. If there's not, I might decide Saturday's a better day to do a longer, harder ride, because I do love to bike. I love to cycle. So, and that could be longer. Like it could be anywhere from, say, 25 miles all the way up to 50. A lot of it depends on what's going on in the season. So like if I'm training for anything, my base ride, I would say, on the weekend would be around 30 miles. That would be what I would do on a Saturday and a Sunday, or a Sunday. It could be both, and I'll get into that in a second. All right, and then I'll do legs. So just like I repeated like I did Wednesday, I'll do legs again. Legs and biceps, just like I did Wednesday. So basically right now, I've been doing this for the last month. I'm on a 6-day-a-week split routine, hitting each muscle group 2 times. That's what I've been doing over the last month. I've liked it. I very much control my intensity. I don't push myself too hard. I make sure I stop short of failure. And again, I don't use bad form. So it sounds like a lot, but it's very controlled. Sunday rolls around. If I did a 5K on Saturday, then Sunday will definitely be the bike day. I'll get out to the trail again, and it'll be a longer bike. And I'll push the intensity, as well. I mean, I'm out there, I'm going to push it a little bit. Not race pace or anything, but I'll see how I feel, and the intensity will be up. But it could be, maybe 25 all the way up to 50 harder miles, So it's a nice 2 to 3 hour day out there. Sometimes I'll run right afterwards if I'm training for a triathlon or a duathlon. We call that a brick workout. Don't do any strength on Sunday. So the only time that's a little different on the weekend is if I add a little distance and do a longer run, if I'm training for something a little bit longer, and that could be, or again, if there's not a 5K or something, sometimes it'll be 2 days in a row of longer cycling because I do enjoy it and I have more time on the weekend. So that pretty much sums up what I do. That's like my usual. Again, it could all vary a little bit based on if I'm training for something specifically, but it works very good for me. It's a training methodology that I like. It combines everything, and it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. It's very controlled in that. And hey, I work in a gym, so I have access to be able to train different weights and stuff. I mean, it's a blessing. It's such a great thing to have access to be able to do all that. So great questions, and speaking of being grateful. So tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and I want to say thank you to everybody that listens to the podcast. I really appreciate it. And to everybody who comes here, trains with me through the years. It's like I don't work a day in my life. It's like I enjoy what I do. I've been doing it. I'd be exercising, training, and helping people and giving advice if I never got paid, and that's a fact. So I'm really thankful for that. And speaking of gratitude, I am thankful for our second sponsor as well, chiropractic physician Doris Antos, who's phenomenal, and a lot of my clients go up to her in Ormond Beach, and she treats the person. She treats the person. That is so important. We do the same thing here. It's so important to get to know the person before you start spewing advice, and she absolutely does that. She's been a physician for 13 years. Again, she's in Ormond Beach. She does decompression, class 4 laser therapy, manual therapy, Graston technique. Let me tell you, Graston technique, it hurts at the time, but it really, really works. And she does it all. So again, I mention those things because it's not just about spinal manipulation all the time. Good chiropractors do a lot of different things. She can be reached at 386-258-9800 or at DaytonaBackPain.com. And just like the Gildons, all of her information will be in the show notes. Until next time, be Max Fit and be Max Well.